I lived in fear my whole entire life. I'm 27, about to be 28 next Friday. I lived in fear of what people thought, what people were going to say. It all started at the age of 18. The first fear that really I remember the most was losing someone that I loved, but they didn't really love me back. But at that time, it was just, I was being young, and it was high school, so I felt like it didn't really matter at the most. That was my very, very first true love, and I lost that, and I had to go through pain just like everyone else. It was the worst feeling, the most worst experience ever, losing someone that you love so much deeply, and it felt like you were just like stabbed in the heart because you did so much for them, you know. I was sad, I was crying, I was depressed, felt like my whole world turned upside down. It's crazy that I was chasing that person, started to realize that I should be loving myself first before I love someone else. I had to learn that the hard way because they ended up going back with their ex. That was like the most worst pain ever, because you would do anything to get back with that person, even if they did you wrong so many times. After that, I didn't even have the mentality to even enlist in the military because of my mindset in that way. I was gonna enlist in the military at that age. I was dedicated. Maybe if I enlist, maybe this would help me out with, changing my mindset and everything. But I was letting the enemy get the best of me and destroy me in every possible way. And at that time, I wasn't really religious. I believed in God and everything, but I wasn't really praying. I wasn't in the Bible. I wasn't going to church or anything like that. I was a Catholic at that time. I got my communion when I was little. I forgot what age. My family came, they saw me and all that. So instead of me enlisting in the military, instead of it changing my life because I was just depressed, I felt like had I gone in there, I would have not had the right mindset. It would have just led me into a worse dark hole, and I didn't want to put that weight on the military, and then, because then it would have been my fault at most, because I should have known that, I shouldn't have joined if my thoughts, weren't where they were supposed to be ready. So after that, I started actually, going a bad route, started hanging around with the wrong crowd. I started drinking, started smoking, I started just doing dumb, young things like every other, person I would do, at that age. I was hanging around with the wrong crowd, and from 18 to I think it was 18 to 24. From that time frame, that era of age, it was really bad for me. I went through drugs, I went through alcohol to get rid of the pain, the depression. It made it worse. My spirit with God was gone, yet He was still beside me. I think from 18 to 21, I was just trying to chase to have someone in my life just to fill that void, because I was so lonely and scared, and realized that the only one that I need is God. And at the end of the day, He was always the one to be there by my side and uplift my spirit and always be there. And He's always going to be the one that will never leave me. Girls can come and go, but I realize I still got Him, and that's really all that matters, because a relationship moving down in the long run, I will realize one thing is that I will always put Him before her, because He always comes first. That I can promise you that. So from at the age of 21 or 22, me and my family, we were moving from place to place. My family, they were getting like very disappointed and dreaded and tired, and they didn't lose their faith in me or anything like that, but they were just like, they saw that I was going bad, in a bad route. I kept going from job to job, job here, job there, and everything else, and I was just, every time I come home from work, I would just smoke, and then, or I would drink, and then I was just like, why am I doing this? This is not how I was raised. I'm raising myself into the world, the worldly things of the sinful world of nature and stuff like that, and the culture, that too. And then I was also chasing pleasure and stuff like that with with ladies and stuff and everything, and I started to realize, like, over time, I started to lose myself through that. I started to realize that that's only temporary, and there's no love in that, and it's just, you're fulfilling a void, a need to fill that. And I realized that I don't want any of that stuff. I gave up all that stuff, over time. I was just like, I was lost. I was in a lost world, and then when 2020 hit, I remember COVID happened, and that really struck everyone in this world. God be with everyone on this earth. May watch over you and protect you. We lost a lot of loved ones. We lost a lot of people. May they rest in peace, knowing that they're in heaven. On the other hand, I actually almost lost my mom in COVID, and even my father. Actually, they had COVID really bad just because of their age. I had COVID, but the only issue I had was, like, I lost my sense of taste. Like, when I would eat food, I couldn't taste anything, and when I would breathe, it would hurt a little. But I didn't get it as bad as my mom and dad, just because of their age, and they've had health problems. When I first saw my mom get into an ambulance, I thought I was actually going to lose my mom. Like, I was literally praying to God, like, to give me another chance to have her in my life, forever, I realized that, life's too short. We're not all going to be here. That's why you always got to keep God in your heart forever, throughout the day, morning, during the day, night. Talk to Him, pray to Him. Love Him, cherish Him, put Him always first before your partner, before your family, all that stuff. Pray over your family, pray over your friends, your loved ones, pray over people that you pass by, those strangers that you may never ever see again, that you can be walking through on a daily life basis, that you pass by someone, they smile, but you don't even know what they're going through in life behind those closed doors. They might have lost a loved one just yesterday, or they have cancer, or they're about to lose their house, or they're about to, something has happened recently or last year or something, or they lost their job or something like that. So I always pray about people that pass by me. I always tell God to watch over them. I always tell God to guide them, protect them, to give them wisdom, patience, peace, love, clarity. You always have to be compassionate with one another, love each other and forgive each other, and because life's too short. And so yeah, it's just like, when COVID happened, everything went dark. I went through a lot of things in life, and it's crazy to say this because a lot of people are going to be shocked about it, but I've met the devil, like, 2-3 times in my life, in my dreams. And it's crazy because it scared the heck out of me really bad, because I was like, where's God in this? So I remember I had a dream, and it was at an old house where we used to live. I lived there my whole life for 21 some years, and I had a dream, and he was, like, in my closet. I saw everything. It was scary. It was dark, sharp teeth, everything. Boy, did I wake up that next morning. I freaked out. And I remember I had another dream. This happened maybe, like, a couple years ago, maybe within 2 to 5 years. I had a dream about me dreaming about the enemy, and he grabbed my hand. He was laying down with the cloak on the bed, and It was scary, it really was. But the moment I started yelling out Jesus a lot in front of it, like, it started screaming and yelling, and it started like turning into dust, and it disappeared and flew away just because I mentioned the word Jesus, you know. That really shocked me and stuff like that. And how do I say it, you know, not recently, actually. I've been having dreams of nightmares and stuff like that. You know, I had a dream, I want to say, I think it was yesterday. Yeah, we're in the year of 2026. I had a dream about, what did I have a dream about? I had a dream about the enemy. And I don't know why I keep having these constant dreams. I don't know, it's maybe because of like my faith is getting stronger or something like that. And I've noticed that, you know, when your faith gets stronger, I've noticed that, you know, the enemy's gonna do everything to try to like push you away from God and stuff like that, you know. So at the age of 25, I remember this, you know. I remember having like the worst nightmares, and it was like an everyday occurring thing, and I would dream about it, you know, about just nightmares, just constantly repeated patterns that were happening. And I was just like, dude, what's going on? And then I kept losing jobs, you know, and stuff like that. And I remember after that happened, I remember something really, really bad happened to me. To this day, it will always be in the back of my head, you know, but it woke me up, gave me a wake-up call. And I remember visiting, as I was struggling, so I remember, I'm gonna go back to this. As I remember, I was struggling with, you know, trying to quit drugs. I was trying to quit alcohol. I remember that I went to go visit my family, you know, because I'm from Texas. I went to go visit them. And then, what else? I remember just going to go, you know, get something to eat with them. Went to go get something to eat. We went to go get Wingstop, right? Went to go get Wingstop. Come back home, we eat that. You know how everyone gets a sweet tooth and all that, you know. Everyone wants, like, dessert afterwards. So I remember the next thing, you know, going to go get dessert. And then the next thing you know, I remember my brother-in-law was driving. I was in the passenger seat, right? I remember it was at the wrong place at the wrong time. And this is where my wake-up call happened. I remember leaving that neighborhood. The moment we exited out the neighborhood, a few seconds right on that road where cars were passing by, I see a 3-car collision. I saw an accident happen with my own eyes. It's crazy. Obviously, I told my brother-in-law to stop by. We pulled over to the side. Next thing you know, I heard a lady coming out screaming. It gave me chills because just the way she was screaming, and she was freaking out, obviously. But the most thing that was scary is that, you know, that shocked me was I saw somebody die with my own eyes. 1 second being alive, and then the next second being dead. His life was gone. You know, he's not here on earth anymore. And I saw his hand. It was pretty gruesome. There was blood everywhere, broken glass. His hand was shaking. The weight of the truck was on its side tilted, and his hand was being weighed down by the vehicle, and it was just shaking. It was crazy. I was locked, like, zoned out. And my brother-in-law came around. He said, "Are you okay?" For him, it didn't faze him because he's seen things in life similar to that, I guess. I did it, you know. Then that shocked me. That gave me chills. We were there, you know, ambulances, fire trucks, like over a dozen cop vehicles showing up, helicopters. So yeah, we were there for a while, for like almost the whole night going into the morning. You know, I got questioned by the cops and just like what I saw, this and that. And yeah, it was pretty hectic because there was so much chaos going on and all that. And, there was like at least a dozen cops just like standing there, because at the end of the night, they're already cleaning up and stuff like that. And then I just started pouring down. I just started crying and everything. The cops were asking me, like, "Are you okay, son?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "Is this your first time seeing something like this?" I was like, "Yeah." But it didn't hit me. I mean, it did hit me, but it made it even worse because I lost one of my best friends. I want to say it was either the week before. I think it was the week before. Yeah, it was. This all, and it hurts me a lot because every time, we're in June. It's crazy that I'm talking about this, about to upload this video. It happened in my birthday month, was in June. And it happened literally close to the week, either the week by my birthday, June 12th. And every time, I'll always remember losing one of my best friends from high school who I haven't spoken to in years after we graduated. Comes to find out that that he passed away, and he was really, really young. He was younger than me. I think he's like a few years younger than I. And I remember hearing that by my mom, and I found that out the hard way. And she showed me a photo, like, you want to go visit him at his funeral and stuff like that. And sure thing enough, I went to his funeral, and when they showed me that, it was pretty crazy. It was I didn't realize that I lost like one of my closest friends like that. He was my best friend. And when I heard the news, I went to go see my family, and then after that I realized that they were doing a thing for him big. And then I heard one of my family members' friends, go visit them that day. And there was like tons of trucks and tons of cars. Like, it was a lot. Like, it was blocking the whole road. Because this guy was really well known. People knew him a lot, They were all surrounding him, supporting his family, praying over his family and stuff like that, or what happened. May you rest in peace, Christian, Love you, buddy. Rest in peace, brother. Love you. Called him Chris for short. That woke me up. I looked at God and I said, like, why did you have to make me see that with my own eyes about that? And I was shocked that I saw that. So 2 bad things happened in my birthday month. That every time my birthday month passes by, it just clicks in my head, So then, after that, it led me worse to drugs. It led me worse to alcohol, and all that. And then I don't know what it was. I think I put my foot down. I literally looked at my mom, and I looked at my dad. And I was like, that was all the enemy's work. I know that for sure. So I was just like, I was literally telling my mom and dad, I forgot what, it was May 6, 2023 when I got saved by Christ. And I went to them and I was like, you know what, I've been through so much from the age of 18 to like, in the year of 2023, drugs, alcohol, jobs, and other stuff, losing loved ones that were like family to me. I saw someone get killed in front of me with my own eyes. So I was like, what, I just want to be saved by Christ. And they're like, what made you want to do that? And then they're like, I just want it. And they're like, they were saved before me. They were always wanting me to go get saved and all. They were pushing me, but I kept pushing away. I was a monster a long time ago, many years ago. I was really wicked with my words. I was really wicked with my thoughts. I was really hurtful to just strangers with my eyes and looks. And, I was just mean. I was just ugly. I was just horrible. I was a bad person. I really was, just with my attitude. I hurt a lot of people, and I pray to God that they forgive me, and I love every single one of the people that I've hurt in the past, whether they're friends that used to be friends, or family members, or anybody, anybody that was in my life in the past. I'm so sorry for the way I've acted. Forgive me. I love you. I don't hate you. I'm gonna let go of the past. I'm gonna move on forward with my life and follow God. So I got saved, and it felt like a feeling of weight just off my chest and back, my whole body. And just from the moment they put me underneath the holy water, and I lifted back up, I got saved. Now I'm a Christian. you know. But the moment I got saved, a lot of people told me about these intrusive thoughts, and when I got saved, like that day, moving forward for like the next couple of years, I think it lasted about a year or so. Excuse me. I remember dealing with severe intrusive thoughts, and I did not really think that was actually a real thing until I had to learn it the hard way. I kept getting like horrible thoughts, like wicked thoughts, like that come to mind, or I would look at people and I would look at them like so weird, and thoughts would just come to mind that are thoughts that are not even mine. I'm just like, wait, why am I thinking of this, like, towards this person, And then I asked, a pastor, I asked people, has you been saved by Christ, and the enemy's doing everything to pull you away from God, that he knows that you've been saved, so you're being attacked, especially because you're young. You're being attacked by, like, with intrusive thoughts, but it took months and years just to cope with learning how to just accept the thoughts and not dwell on them, and not to hold it against you and be like, is that really how I feel about this person? No, it's just horrible thoughts from the enemy. He knows you're saved, so he can't, he won't be able to, destroy you and stuff like that. So yeah, so after that, all of a sudden, I ended up just wanting to enlist in the military at this time, although, I'm gonna walk by faith, not by sight, like God has said in the Bible. So then I ended up walking with, like, God. It was a struggle. I'm being saved. I'm a Christian now. It doesn't mean I'm going to be perfect and everything. I struggle with a lot of things in life. I struggle with, like, temptations. I struggled with, cussing. I struggled with my anger. Why am I still doing these things? It's like, you've been saved by Christ, but it doesn't mean you're not going to be 100% perfect. You're a human being. God still forgives you. God still loves you. He still cares about you. He'll still forgive you no matter what. All he wants you to do is to trust him. All he wants you, is the key word, is to try, but actually be really dedicated to following him and not to fall short, and to actually live for him and not live for the world. You have to live for him. That's the goal, is to live for him. I don't want to live for the world anymore. I don't go to clubs. I don't go to parties. I quit drinking just because my father was an alcoholic. I quit drinking because my uncle was one too. I quit drinking because I lost one of my cousins that was drinking and driving. He said he was going to come back, but never came back. He was, drinking under the influence of drinking. May he rest in peace, knowing that he's in heaven. And he hit a curb, and, correct me if I'm wrong, they had to have the casket closed because it was just too gruesome to look at him because of the accident. So I quit drinking because of that. I'm, like, completely done with drinking alcohol, I am. Crazy thing is that when I enlisted in the military, I was going through a lot in boot camp because I realized it's all a mental mindset game. I ended up doing, a lot of things in the military, like, during boot camp, learning a lot of things in boot camp. And I was like, I was going through a mental mindset game. There was things that were being thrown at me, and I had to put my faith in God. I had to pray to God. Once I graduated boot camp, once I graduated boot camp, I started going to school. Started getting sad when I got into another relationship with someone else. That didn't last long, but it was my own fault to realize that I knew that person was not meant for me, nor from God, because I could just tell that they were living for the world, and they were just doing a lot of lustful things, and then they were doing a lot of... God was giving me a lot of signs about that person, and I was not being obedient to listen to him, and I had to learn it the hard way, that person actually hurt me with distance with someone else. And I learned that the hard way. And yeah, I started vaping. I started drinking again as a Christian. I started hanging around with the wrong crowd. It don't matter if you have friends that you love to death, but at the end of the day, if they're bad influences and they're leading you the wrong path and they're leading you away from God, it's hard to swallow that pill, but you're gonna have to, like, push yourself away from those people and cut those people out your life. No matter how much you love them, you can love them from a distance, but if they're not leading you to God and they're leading you on the wrong path, you have to cut them out your life. As I'm starting to grow and become more older and learn more wisdom and be more wise, starting to grow and be more mature and, grow with wisdom, I notice who are the right people for my life and who are not. The people I want to surround myself with are, church, like people like Christians that lead me to Christ to grow stronger spiritually, for my future wife, for my kids. I want to lead them to church. I want to take them to church, yeah, so I started vaping, started drinking again because of that relationship. I was living a horrible life in Chicago. That's where I was stationed at first, just vaping and drinking, going to clubs and stuff like that. I was feeling that empty voidness, I was chasing pleasures, chasing lust, a good time. Came to San Diego, I did the same thing. I was vaping, I was drinking, I was going to clubs and bars, I was filling that void and pleasure too and all that with ladies. But ever since I came here to Florida, and this is where I'm going to be at for the rest of my life for my contract, I'm starting to realize that giving myself distance and from people and time away for me to actually think for myself. I've been reading the Bible every day. For the past month, I've been reading the Bible every day. I've been reading the scriptures every day. I've been talking to God every day. I've been praising and listening to Christian music every day. I've been staying consistent. I've been going to the gym to get my physical health, I've been going to the gym to take care of my physical health, my appearance, to feel good, to look good. I talk to God throughout the day. I've been eating right. I've been watching what I eat at the galley. I've been actually finding, side hobbies, to keep me busy with, to get me through the day, whether it's I found to upload YouTube content or even when it comes to creating TikTok or Instagram Reels or even on YouTube Shorts and all that. I've been uploading either religious things about God or motivational things, whether it has to be at the gym or your life or your career goals or your future and all that, or relationship things, stuff like that. I've been doing that because you never know what someone's going through. Everyone can seem happy, smiling, being so energetic, but like I said, at the end of the day, those closed doors, they can be going through something and they feel like they're alone. So that's when you always gotta pass by people and smile at them. And if they don't smile, that's fine. But at least you did your part by being, giving that energy off. I'm still in my comfort zone when it comes to actually praying over people that I don't even know, because I'm not really that good with praying. I'm still learning how to pray. I know there's not a specific way to pray, but I'm just learning as I go day by day. I want to grow with a woman who's someone who would say, I put God before you. I want to grow God with you. I feel like the only successful way to have an amazing relationship is to have a foundation of God in the center of it. Guys, I'm just here trying to learn how to upload my YouTube videos and how to become the best version and, of myself every day. The goal is to invest into something on the side to help me with financially so that when I get out of the military, I'll be set. So I gave my life to Christ in 2023. And there's a lot of battles that I'm going through right now that nobody knows, but I almost lost my father last year due to cancer. I think it was kidney cancer. And I almost lost my father due to kidney cancer. I cried, I prayed to God, thank God for giving him, thank God for giving me another year to spend time with my father. I love him so deeply. I almost lost my mom too, due to a lot of health issues. I pray over my mom, my dad, my sister, my niece, my brother, my family, my friends, the ones who hate me in the past who still hold grudges to this day. I forgive them, I love them. When I grow through Christ, I know that I have to forgive and love no matter what. I have to turn the other cheek. I have to be the bigger person like my father has told me since day one, to be the better person. Just move on in life, focus on God, focus on your careers, focus on the goals that you want within, in your life. yeah, so I've gone through a lot of things in life, just like everyone else on this earth. So I just want to say at the end of this video is that, you're not alone. You're not alone. You got God, you have me. If you ever feel some type of way, just reach out to me, reach out to God, reach out to your loved ones that truly intentionally do care about you. And if you're alone, find a church, make friends, make a family out of that, make a foundation, by creating a family, with Christ with them. Surround yourself with the right people. Please don't go and surround yourself with people that are going to lead you to sin or lead you away from God. Don't go to clubs anymore. If you have a vision, you want a family and you want kids, don't go to clubs anymore. Don't go to bars anymore. Stop that. Give that all to God. And when you feel like you're being tempted, run to God. When you feel like you want to talk to somebody about your relationship issues with someone, give it to God. Always run to God, whatever you're going through. Always run to Him, because He wants to listen to you. He loves you and He cares about you. I don't know what much more to say. Is that I'm thankful that He gave me another day today to live on this earth, when there were others that didn't get to wake up today on this planet. I'm grateful for the things that I have. I'm grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for the woman of my life. Whoever that may be, I love her, is blessed by God. It's a gift that I will never ever take for granted ever. I've learned a lot through relationships, the ups and downs, what to pull, what I don't want in a relationship in the long run. I'm just learning day by day. My goal is to become the best version of myself, and that's your goal, to become the best version of yourself. Never to let yourself go. When you feel lazy, you ask for strength. You have to lock in. You have to be able to achieve the dreams that you want and life and stuff. Nobody's going to give that to you. You have to work for that. You have to tell yourself, I got this. I will be able to do it. I'll be able to attain that dream. You have to tell yourself that, with God, I'm okay. You can't do things without God. I can tell you that. You always got to put in first. You always got to pray. I've gone through so much dark things in life that has led me to where I'm at, and I'm happy and I'm thankful that I am in the military. I've met a lot of good people, but I've also met a lot of bad people that are not good to surround myself with, and I had to cut them off. Phone number, social media, I had to cut all those people off, because if they're not going to lead me to God, then I don't want them in my life. As much as I love them, I could love them from a distance, but I don't need those type of people in my life. So they can be, people where they make you laugh and you have a good time with them and all that. But if they're leading away from Christ, and they're leading you to sin, to be drunk or vape, and especially in the military, I've noticed that there's a lot of people. I can't believe I was surrounding myself with people who were just vaping and just drinking, and they would be so inappropriate with the ladies, vice versa, the ladies be inappropriate with the guys. And I'm just like, why am I surrounding myself with people like that, when I should be surrounding myself with people who talk about their goals, or Christ, or love and respect for each other. Those are the type of people I want to surround myself, are the good people. So no matter how much I love those people, I can love them from a distance, but hey, I have to cut you out of my life because you're leading me away from Christ. And that's just me. I'm growing up, becoming a man, realizing nobody's coming to save me, to help me out with what I want in life. It's up to God and it's up to me, and I'm not afraid of that. I'm ready to be a man of God in my future wife's eyes. I'm ready to be a man of God in my kids' eyes. It's up to me to be the leader and protector and provider, and I'm ready for that. I think the best thing on earth is really, man, is just to have God in your life. Don't ever let Him go. There's a lot of loving, amazing people that you come across your life. I notice that when I'm in the military, when I go on deployments, and there's going to be high stress, long working hours, there's going to be, stress, there's going to be probably depression and anxiety kick in because of the job that you have. You got to learn how to just really keep your faith and your strength in God and have patience. I know that I know I signed up for this. I know I signed up for this, but I am going to promise myself and promise to God especially that I will not run to vaping. I will not run to drinking. I will not run to go to clubs and bars wherever the ports and countries are being deployed at to. I want to make sure that I find godly people that are living with Christ on that ship, that talk about God every day, that follow God every day, that don't do those things. You know, when I go into ports and countries, you know what? Instead of going to clubs and parties and chasing lust and pleasure and having, you know, sex and stuff like that, I'd rather take my Bible, sightsee the country that I'm at, look at the beautiful architect that God has created, try food that I probably won't try for a very long time until, you know, later in the long run in my life as I get older, to visit vacations with my family, you know, my wife. But I'm not gonna do none of that stuff. I'm gonna chase God. I'm gonna make sure I have my Bible with me every time I get out of that ship in whatever country I'm at. And try the food, you know, sightsee, you know, look at the beauty. You don't have to chase pleasure or have sex with people or be drunk to be buzzed to have a good time, and you don't have to do that to be happy. You don't have to, like, you know, go to clubs and bars. You're just filling that void and that emptiness when you should be filling that with God in your heart. I've learned that the hard way, and I'm really sick and tired of it. I have to be mentally and spiritually and financially ready to have a wife and, you know, raise my kids. I don't want them to be like, oh, dad's having, you know, I made those drinking and vaping and all that stuff poor habits. I got rid of it. I replaced it with God. I replaced it, you know, with things that I keep myself busy by making YouTube or my TikTok, my Instagram reels, or even stuff like going to the gym for like 2.5 hours a day, you know, to build that strength, you know, that mindset. I read the scriptures every day. I meditate on them. I'm taking day by day, just day by day, because I want things to happen like that, but it's not going to happen like that fast. I have to be patient. Patience is a virtue. So yeah, I mean, like, I went through a lot of things that tested my faith. You know, there were a lot of things that I lived in fear of. This whole video is all about, you know, faith over fear. Always put your faith over fear. Always put your faith in God. Always trust Him. Don't lean on your understanding. Lean on His understanding. Always talk to Him. Always have your eyes on Him. You know, there's going to be things thrown at me. There's going to be temptations thrown at me in the military and ports and countries. There's going to be bad influences around me that are going to peer pressure me into drinking, vaping, zinning, going to the clubs and parties, chasing pleasure, being disrespectful to women, vice versa men, you know, vice versa females, being disrespectful to men, just being inappropriate. I'm not going to surround myself with people like that. People like that I will cut out of my life, because I'm a godly man and I'm wanting to be a godly man, and I want to surround myself with people like that. I will not surround myself with people that are pushing me away from Christ. If you push me away from Christ, I will cut you out of my life. So yeah, always do yourself a favor. Always keep your faith strong. Fear will always kick in, but you always got to meditate on the word. You always got to look up in the sky and be like, you know, you made all of this, so I trust you and I believe you. You shouldn't fear the creative. You should fear the creator. And I read that from a viral video of a lady who says, I saw a video of a lady who said that. And she was talking to her son. Her son was recording her. And he was speaking to his mom. And he told his mom, he's like, they're afraid. And then she was like, afraid of who? They're like, they're afraid of the devil. And then she laughed. And she was like, how can you fear the created when you should fear the creator? And that, you know, and that's Jesus. So that really hit me hard in that video, because I was always fearing the enemy a lot. I really was. And I started to realize that the one to fear is the creator, and that is the Son of God, and that's the Lord Almighty, the man above in the sky, who watches over all His kids. I'm so happy and I'm so thankful, and I know I'm blessed with all the things that I have in my life, and I know my parents are proud of me to this day, just because my faith is getting way much more stronger. You know, there are going to be days where I have good days. There's going to be days where I have bad days. Those bad days, I have to just keep my faith and strength in God and You know, just learn from it, to learn patience and to breathe, take deep breaths and just let out, just breathe and focus on positive thoughts, not on the negative thoughts that are happening at that moment. There's gonna be people that are gonna relieve a lot of hate, anger, whatever. Just forgive them, love them, move on. And a lot of people are going through things in their life that I may not know about, or you may not know about. Just love everyone. Just spread nothing but love and positivity, you know. Turn yourself away from things that you know that are going to lead you into sin. You know, the only way is through Him. His ways are higher. And I just want to say at the end of this video, you know, I've learned a lot. That I'm always going to be tested about my faith. And I'm always going to, and I'm always going to be thrown fear. I always have to keep my faith stronger than my fear. Put your faith over fear and you'll be fine. Put Him first, you'll be fine. Just walk with Him, learn from Him, learn His Word, meditate on it. Surround yourself with the right people, please. You'll learn that if you surround yourself with people that are good from Him, you'll realize that you'll grow so much. Yeah. One last key takeaway from this video is I love you, care about you, God cares about you, your family cares about you, your friends care about you, your family, you know, your partner cares about you. Always keep your faith over fear in Him. Surround yourself with good people though too. Peace.